Good evening, and thank you for attending the 2025-2026 Gloversville School District Budget Hearing. On April 8th, 2025, the Board of Education adopted a $78,063,076 budget for the 2025 school year that represents an increase of $3,065,282 over the 2024-2025 school year. It is important to note that instruction, fringe benefits, and debt service expenses represent 72% of the overall budget, and although the projected expenditures increased by $3 million, the tax levy only increased by 1.77 or $284,300. This solidifies the Board of Education's commitment to keep the tax increase at a minimum while providing the best educational opportunities for our scholars. General support includes the expenses for the Board of Education, Superintendent, Business Office, Buildings and Grounds, Communications, Legal, Fiscal Advisors, Printing, BOCES administrative costs, Property Insurance, and Data Processing Services. The data processing costs include the expenses related to all of the infrastructure that support managing the district's financial operations, student data, special education, tax billing, cybersecurity, and athletic and facilities use. These services are offered through cross-contracts with various BOCES throughout the region and are eligible for BOCES aid, which is 85.7% for Gloversville. Other expenses in this category include salaries, election costs, conference registration, association dues, all buildings and grounds expenses, property and liability insurance, and the BOCES administrative fees. Property and liability insurance costs increased significantly due to the natural disasters that have plagued the country the past year. There are two major insurance carriers that provide insurance to New York schools, Utica National and the New York State Insurance Reciprocal. Gloversville's coverage is through Utica National and has been for the past several years. Although the increase was close to 20%, it is still less than what the other company had quoted districts similar to ours. The cost of electricity and gas continues to increase, but with the district's participation in the Energy Consortium, the partnership with the city for inclusion in the solar energy project, and the installation of our own solar field, these increases have been kept to a minimum. The central printing copy machine maintenance, copy paper, and postage are also included in this group of account codes. Overall, the expenses in the general support codes have increased by $383,427. General teaching includes all the expenses associated with educating the scholars: curriculum, building administration, general teaching, special education, vocational education, summer school, library media, IT guidance, nursing, social work, clubs, and athletics. The majority of these expenses are for salaries. However, special education placements in private, public, and BOCES programs, student enrollment in P-TECH, alternative education, and the career tech ed programs are also part of this group of budget codes. Additional CTE, career tech ed, positions were included this year, and the district has just under 100 scholars attending the various P-TECH programs offered. The reading program, Core Knowledge Language Arts, which we refer to as CKLA, was introduced in September of 2023 and has been highly successful. There's a third edition being released this year, and this budget includes the cost to migrate to the new edition. The third edition features an enhanced knowledge building sequence, more differentiation to reach all learners, and enhanced writing instruction grounded in the science of writing. Our scholars and staff have embraced the CKLA program, and improvement across all grade levels is evidence that this is working to help our scholars become more proficient in reading and writing. Social emotional learning and services to address the mental health needs of our scholars is paramount to their success. In September of 2024, HFM BOCES offered component districts the opportunity to participate in a community schools program that provides counseling services in partnership with the Family Counseling Center. Previously, the district had been contracting with them independently, but now these same services will be eligible for BOCES aid. The Fulton County Department of Social Services also provides staff to assist our scholars manage the daily struggles they face. Transportation. This will be the second year that Gloversville will be responsible for providing transportation to those scholars eligible for transportation to and from school, field trips, and athletic events. Costs to contract with private transportation companies have increased slightly over the 2024 school year because there are 1 or 2 special education runs and a multitude of McKinney-Vento scholars needing transportation from various locations within a 50-mile radius that the Department of Social Services places them that our own drivers cannot cover. Thankfully, the district is eligible for 90% transportation aid. Fringe benefits include expenses for the New York State retirement systems, Social Security, workers' compensation, unemployment insurance, health, and dental insurance. These costs have increased minimally this year. This is due in part to the fact that there are a year's worth of transportation costs to use for analysis, and many of the drivers in attendance chose the health insurance buyout, which is significantly less than the cost of a health insurance plan. Health insurance rates are up 6% for those employees and retirees participating in the plans offered through the Philmont Health Trust, and on average 19% for those participating in the community-related plans, which are CDPHP and NVP. The district continues to offer a Medicare Advantage plan for those retirees over 65, and those rates are projected to increase by 7%. Fringe benefits account for 22.09% of the overall budget. Debt service is the payment for the principal and interest due on the bonds and bond anticipation notes associated with capital projects. The district's fiscal advisors review the outstanding debt and assist with the planning of future projects to ensure that debt service payments don't fluctuate and affect the tax cap and the ability to provide consistent tax levy figures from year to year. This year, debt service expenses decreased by $59,825, and $447,939 will be transferred from the debt service reserve to help offset the general fund share of debt. Gloversville has a 90% building aid ratio for projects approved after 7/1/05. Revenue. State aid was projected using the governor's proposal because the New York State budget had yet to be approved at the time of the Board of Education's adoption of the district's tentative budget on April 8th. In the enacted state budget, Gloversville's foundation aid was reduced by approximately $730,000. This did not have an impact on the overall state aid used in the budgeting process, as building aid and public and private excess cost aid figures are provided by our fiscal advisors and state aid planning and made up for the difference in the foundation aid. Property taxes increased by $284,300, or 1.77%, which is in line with the tax cap calculation. Other revenue includes interest and penalty on taxes, interest on investments, Medicaid, admission to games, tuition from other districts, BOCES rental of classrooms, and use of facilities. Interest rates on investments have been consistently high, but in an attempt to avoid fluctuations in revenue in future years, the $100,000 increase was included in this revenue item. The district's fiscal advisors review the debt service principal and interest payments and assist in planning the appropriate use of debt service reserve funds based on building aid. As I mentioned earlier, this year we will be using $447,939 from the debt service reserve fund. Appropriated fund balance is $1,372,564, which is $981,552 higher than 24-25. The Board of Education remains vigilant when reviewing the budget and use of fund balance because they want to ensure that the district continues to provide a sound educational program for our scholars while keeping the tax levy increase at a minimum. The district will continue to receive pre-kindergarten and community schools funds through the state. There will be a proposition on the ballot for the approval to purchase 2 much-needed wheelchair buses, a dump truck, and a Suburban, and they will have no impact on the tax levy. Discussions regarding electric vehicle purchasing are ongoing. The district participated in a study coordinated by BOCES to investigate the feasibility of having a full fleet of electric vehicles and the effect on the taxpayer, the infrastructure, and other factors that would positively or negatively affect this transition. The results are not in yet, but it is anticipated that the ability to comply with this mandate will not be possible for most, if not all, districts. The enacted state budget did provide language regarding the purchase of zero-emission buses, but it did not extend the original 2027 deadline. Waivers can be submitted by districts and will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and additional funding for assistance with the purchasing of buses and upgrades to infrastructure was also part of the governor's final budget. The district has a school bus replacement plan and will continue to purchase diesel buses until it is no longer allowable. Replenishment of these reserve funds will be made through unappropriated fund balance as of June 30, 2025. Aid is received based on a 5-year amortization schedule developed by the state. Another proposition will be to purchase student desks, chairs, tables, cabinets, and musical instruments. A 5-year plan to upgrade outdated broken furniture across the district and replace and increase the number of musical instruments available to all scholars has been developed with the assistance of district and building administrators. Furniture replacement has been hit and miss throughout the years, and many of the classrooms are in dire need of furniture. The cost of musical instruments is also quite high. There is funding in the general fund budget to repair existing instruments, but some of them are beyond repair. Approval of this proposition will allow for new instruments to be purchased to replace those that cannot be repaired, and to purchase new to enhance the music program and allow more scholars to participate in band and showcase their talents. These purchases will have no impact on the tax levy, and the reserve will be replenished in the same manner as the bus purchase and vehicle reserve. We got a lot of propositions on this one. We also have a proposition to allow the district to purchase computer monitors, charging stations, and upgrades to the district's infrastructure. Staff have indicated that they would like to return to having classroom sets of Chromebooks that can be charged each night, ensuring that every scholar has a fully charged and working Chromebook to use in class. Scholars will still be allowed to sign out a Chromebook to use at home if needed. With changing technology, the district strives to stay on the forefront of this and provide our scholars and staff with up-to-date technology that allows them to be successful in their educational journey. As part of our continued efforts to modernize our technology infrastructure and better support our students and staff, the district is transitioning from traditional on-premise servers to secure cloud-based services using Microsoft Azure. I think that's how you say it. This move brings several key benefits: increased reliability, stronger security, cost efficiency, scalability, and flexibility, and disaster recovery and continuity. This shift reflects the district's commitment to providing a secure, modern, and responsive technology environment that supports excellence in education. These purchases will have no impact on the tax levy, and the reserve will be replenished in the same manner as the bus purchase and vehicle reserve. So in summary, the total proposed general fund budget is $78,063,076. It is a $3 million, just over $3 million increase, or 4.09%. If the voters reject the proposed budget, the Board of Education may choose to adopt a contingent budget. There are 3 regulations associated with the contingent budget. The tax levy can be no greater than the prior year. Non-contingent expenses need to be removed, and it needs to be in compliance with the administrative component cap. An ordinary contingent expense is defined as an expense necessary to provide minimum services legally required to operate and maintain school buildings and the educational program, preserve the property of the district, and ensure the health and safety of students and staff. A contingent budget for Gloversville will mean a reduction of $284,300 in expenses. A contingent budget does not allow for an increase in the tax levy, so expenses in the amount of the levy increase would need to be removed from the budget. For Gloversville, this would mean the buildings and grounds and general teaching equipment would be eliminated, slots for career and technology students, and the supplemental reading materials would need to be reduced. Another contingent budget rule is the percent of the expenses attributed to the administrative component cannot exceed the prior years. So in 2024-25, the administrative component was 8.35%. In 25-26, the administrative component is 8.34%. So adoption of a contingent budget would have no effect on the administrative component, as the 25-26 percentage is less than the prior year. The district is required to present the budget in 3 components: administrative, program, and capital. The administrative component consists of those expenses not directly associated with instruction, for example, Board of Education, superintendent, business office, etc. The majority of the program component is expenses related to the instruction and transportation of the scholars, and the capital component is buildings and grounds and debt service expenses. The administrative component calculation is necessary in case a contingent budget is adopted. In that situation, the administrative component cannot exceed the prior years. This year, registered voters will have the opportunity to vote on the 2025-2026 Gloversville Public Library budget and elect trustees for the library board in conjunction with the school district budget vote. Last year, the library vote was defeated by a very small margin, and as a result of that, many of the services previously provided by the library had to be either reduced or eliminated altogether. Approval of the Gloversville Public Library budget would allow those programs to be reinstated and possibly enhanced. The library offers a wide array of community programs that appeal to all age levels. The district brings scholars on field trips to the library, and when they receive their library cards, they are so proud. Many bring their parents and guardians back to get a library card of their own and explore the wonderful things the library has to offer. For more information regarding their budget, please visit their website or contact Valerie Venturini, the library director. These contact details are provided on the slide. The polls will be open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Gloversville High School and the Bleecker Town Hall. For those who have registered as permanently disabled with the Fulton County Board of Election, absentee ballots have been mailed. If you would like to request an absentee ballot, please visit the district website for an application and further instructions. If you have any questions about where you vote or to request additional information, please call the district office at 518-775-5706. Voters may vote for up to 3 Board of Education members whose terms will be for 3 years. The following incumbents are on the ballot: Kevin Husel and Robert Curtis. The 2025-2026 propositions, we have 5 of them this year. One is the Gloversville School District budget, one is the public library budget. We have the purchase of the wheelchair buses, dump truck and Suburban from the School Bus and Vehicle Reserve Fund, purchase of student desks, chairs, tables, cabinets, and musical instruments from the Furniture, Fixtures, and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, and then purchase of computer monitors, charging stations, and upgrades to the district's infrastructure from the Technology Capital Reserve Fund. I would like to take the opportunity to ask you to please consider what you are voting on when you cast your vote on May 20th. Expenses that are not considered ordinary contingent expenses are not affected by a no vote. Salaries, fringe benefits, BOCES, special education, and debt service will still remain the same and consist of 92.5% of the overall budget. Also note that approving the propositions funded by the various capital reserve funds does not affect the tax levy or your school tax rate. These purchases are from a separate funding source. Copies of the proposed budget are available at each school building and on the district website. Budget newsletters are being mailed this week with more information. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Kathy Meir, or Superintendent Dave Halloran. I would thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please let me know.